world, 2019 was kind of a weird year for movies. Disney, who is seemingly taking over the world, made $10 billion even before releasing Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, thanks to revenue-churning machines like Avengers: Endgame and a live-action remake of The Lion King. Meanwhile, there seemed to be far fewer indie breakthroughs. The middle, as it turned out, was the sweet spot, as obscure non-blockbusters like Parasite and Booksmart were absolute gems. Sure, there were plenty of great movies that didn't make the list this year, so be sure to leave a comment of some of your best movies of 2019. Let's get started with this year's picks. 15. Us. A pair of golden scissors. That was all Jordan Peele needed to build hype for his newest nightmare and sophomore follow-up to 2017's psychological race-fueled horror entry Get Out. And it worked. If Get Out was meant to be an appetizer showing glimpses of skill and greatness amplified in the main course, Us is that 5-star dining experience we and the horror genre have been starved of and craving for years. Us tells the horrifying story of Adelaide and her family returning to the beachfront home where she grew up as a child. Haunted by a traumatic experience from the past, Adelaide grows increasingly concerned that something bad is going to happen. Her worst fears soon become a reality when 4 masked strangers descend upon the house, forcing her and her family into a fight for survival. From its opening scene in the downright creepy funhouse, amidst disorientating mirrors and blue-hued, white-knuckled heart-pounding that feels positively old world and almost Hitchcock-like, you are in for a thrill ride that keeps up its psychological horror and identity crisis until the final reveal. Number 14, American Factory. Touted as one of the best documentaries of 2019, American Factory takes place from 2015 to 2017 in post-industrial Ohio and tells the story of a Chinese billionaire opening a new factory in the husk of an abandoned General Motors plant and then hiring 2,000 blue-collar American workers. Early days of hope and optimism give way to setbacks as high-tech China clashes with working-class America. The film currently boasts a 96% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and the film won the Best Documentary Feature Award at the River Run International Film Festival in April of 2019. At its core, this fine documentary is best described as a fascinating tragicomedy about the incompatibility of American and Chinese industries. 13. Knives Out. Boasting an impressive 97% on Rotten Tomatoes and packed with a star-studded cast, this definitive murder mystery film circles Harlan Thrombey, a wealthy writer who is turning 85. His eclectic and eccentric family has become fragmented, but Harlan believes he can reunite them at his birthday. After the entire family gathers at his mansion to celebrate him, he is found dead the very next morning. When the police begin to investigate his death, along with private investigator Benoit Blanc, many family secrets come to light. There are now multiple murder suspects, and they must figure out who is responsible for Harlan's death. Inspired by the plethora of Agatha Christie novels, writer and director Rian Johnson knows how to stage a murder mystery. Put an affluent old man at loggerheads with his family, make each member intriguing and give them reasonable cause, revenge, greed, spite, or all of the above. Throw in a peculiar detective to solve the case, and watch the mayhem unfold.
I suspect foul play.
12. The Peanut Butter Falcon. This majestically shot film is much more than an odd couple buddy road trip. It tips its sails to Huckleberry Finn. Directors, screenwriters Tyler Nilson and Michael Schwartz have framed together an odyssey that grapples between good guys and bad guys. It unveils kindnesses and understanding that puts mankind in the shaped boat and keeps humanity afloat. The unlikely heroes of this endearing saga are Zach and Tyler. Both young men are on the run. Zach, a kid suffering from Down syndrome, has escaped the confines of a senior living centre where he's been wrongly relegated by the state. Not all is smooth sailing, but along the way they encounter winsome individuals who offer warmth and hospitality. Comparing this film to Twain's masterpiece Huckleberry Finn is lofty but tenable. The Peanut Butter Falcon soars on its stunning cinematography, superb acting and powerful storytelling. 11. Ad Astra. There have been an array of sci-fi films over the years in which people climb to the depths of outer space to find themselves, but none quite like this year's deep space thriller Ad Astra. In what can be described as thematically dense and visually sumptuous, it may not be for the casual moviegoer that's simply looking for a cheap thrill ride, but this clever movie has a bit more working under the hood. Ad Astra is an exploration of manhood, what it is to be human, and father-son relationships. The movie focuses around the main character, Roy McBride, played by Brad Pitt, who follows in the footsteps of his father by becoming an astronaut. Roy is sent on a mission to find his father, after his spaceship mysteriously disappeared decades ago. But now is more important than ever to uncover the truth of what happened, as the fate of humanity is at stake. Although this mission is an action-packed blockbuster, below the surface there is a much deeper message that should be noted. 10. Uncut Gems. In what can be described as one of Sandler's finest cinematic performances to date, Uncut Gems takes place over the course of a couple of days in the Diamond District of Manhattan and follows the life of the diamond dealing and gambling addict Howard Ratner. To put it bluntly, Howard is a mess. His gambling addiction has him in debt up to his eyeballs, and every time he finds himself with the money to pay it off, his reckless behaviour leads him to chaos. He eventually comes into possession of a stone that he believes will be the answer to all of his financial woes, and spends the majority of the film in a precarious high-wire act as he balances business, family and adversaries on all sides in pursuit of the
I heard you resurface your fucking swimming pool. You know how that makes me feel?
Never
You think your life is
resurface
more
anything.
important than
I
my
don't
life?
know who said that.
9. John Wick Parabellum. 14 million is a lot of money, but not if you can't spend it. 10 minutes into the third instalment of the franchise, and free-shooting John Wick is already displaying his chilling ways of exercising the right to bear arms. Old favours, old friends, and new enemies that may be fanboys. We all fell in love with John Wick immediately from the first one, and the third one coming has only increased our love for him. As we continue the plot here, the story of John Wick Parabellum starts with Wick gunning down a member of the High Table and finding himself stripped of the organisation's protective services. Now stuck with a $14 million bounty on his head, Wick must fight his way through the streets of New York as he becomes the target of the world's most ruthless killers. If all DC movies end with a fight scene in the rain that's supposed to thrill the audience, that's what John Wick 3 starts with, and flexes once again as one of the best action films.
What do you need? Guns. Lots of guns.
8. Avengers Endgame. How do you conclude an 11-year-old saga in a way that doesn't mess things up? It does sound like a near Herculean task, but the Russo brothers have surprisingly accomplished it. Avengers Endgame, which marks the end of the Infinity Saga, is spellbinding and surely an enthralling experience. Watching all our favourite superheroes in one film is just surpassing, as Marvel has been working on this grand culmination ever since they released Iron Man. And to say that their ambition has paid off is an understatement. Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely have come up with a screenplay full of epic and unpredictable moments. The film has a great balance of humour, emotions and action, with the biggest strength of the film being the emotions, as this is one of the most emotional superhero films you'll ever watch. The action sequences are jaw-dropping, the visuals are gorgeous, and the humour isn't overly exaggerated, but manages to entertain throughout the film. Avengers Endgame isn't the best Marvel film, nor is it a flawless superhero film, but that doesn't change the fact that it's one of the most satisfying conclusions ever, as it gives the perfect send-off to our favourite superheroes. 7. The Farewell. The Farewell is a bittersweet Chinese tragicomedy that has the potential to become an Academy Award winner for Best International Feature Film. The movie revolves around an elderly Chinese lady who suffers from an incurable cancer. Her sister, however, hides this information from her and instead tries to bring all the family together for one last time. A hastily arranged wedding between a grandson and his Japanese girlfriend serves its purpose for the family members abroad to come back to Cancun. However, the burden of this lie is heavy, and conflicts, confusion and misunderstandings soon occur. 6. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The 9th film for the famous writer and director Quentin Tarantino takes place in 1969 Hollywood and follows the life of TV star Rick Dalton, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who gained fame and fortune by starring in a 1950s television western, but is now struggling to find meaningful work in a Hollywood that he doesn't recognise anymore. He spends most of his time drinking and palling around with Cliff Booth, his easygoing best friend and longtime stunt double, who is played by Brad Pitt. Rick also happens to live next door to Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate, the filmmaker and budding actress, whose futures will forever be altered by members of the Manson family. While it may not be on the level of Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs, the acting, directing and cinematography still make this one of the best movies of 2019.
Line. Cut! Embarrass yourself like that in front of all those goddamn people!
5. Ford vs Ferrari. Kick it to 7,000 RPM and enjoy this entertaining thrill ride of a movie that tells the true story of American designer Carroll Shelby and British race car driver Ken Miles. Starring Matt Damon and Christian Bale, Ford vs Ferrari plots the tale of the Ford Motor Company, building a car to compete against the race cars of Enzo Ferrari at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in France in 1966. As failing Henry Ford II seeks out an idea to save his late father's company, he takes initiative to challenge Ferrari in a race of perfection by hiring Carroll Shelby. Shelby then seeks the skills of Miles as the dynamic duo try to create the perfect Ford GT to shake up the reign Ferrari has claimed for years. 4. Booksmart. Fans may know Olivia Wilde from her acting chops through various television series and movies over the years, but her directorial debut was none too shabby either in the coming-of-age comedy drama Booksmart. She tells the story of Amy and Molly, two teenage academic overachievers that thought keeping their noses to the grindstone gave them a leg up on their high school peers. But on the eve of graduation, the best friends suddenly realise that they may have missed out on the special moments of their teenage years. Determined to make up for lost time, the girls decide to cram 4 years of not-to-be-missed fun into one night, and what ensues is a chaotic adventure that no amount of book smarts could prepare them for. 3. The Irishman. Based on the 2004 book I Heard You Paint Houses, Martin Scorsese returned this year with this epic crime drama that told the story of World War II vet Frank Sheeran. In the 1950s, truck driver Sheeran gets involved with Russell Bufalino and his Pennsylvania crime family. As Sheeran climbs the ranks to become a top hitman, he also goes to work for Jimmy Hoffa, a powerful teamster tied to organised crime. Scorsese's return to Mafia Land is an absolute home run, which is why it's not only one of Martin Scorsese's best films, but also one of the top films of 2019. 2. Marriage Story. With a rock-solid performance from Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, filmmaker Noah Bauman's Marriage Story takes an incisive and compassionate look at a marriage breaking up and a family staying together. The movie itself is a sad tale in which the couple's divorce seesaws from still best friends to raging monsters. Their natural inclination seems to favour behaviour at the friendlier end of the spectrum, but by employing teams of attorneys whose only interests are fiscal and competitive, any trace of the harmony that remains between Driver and Johansson is cruelly exposed and used as a weakness.
Start from a place of reasonable, and they start from a place of crazy. When we settle, we'll be somewhere between reasonable and crazy.
1. Parasite. Jobless, penniless, and above all hopeless, the unmotivated patriarch of the Kim family and his equally unambitious wife and children occupy themselves by working for peanuts in their slummy basement-level apartment. Then, by sheer luck, a lucrative business proposition will pave the way for an insidiously subtle scheme, as the son of the family summons up the courage to pose as an English tutor for the teenage daughter of the affluent Park family. Now the stage seems set for an unceasing winner-takes-all class war. Described as the best movie of 2019, Parasite is truly a work of art and a sheer masterpiece. Director Jun-Ho's film oozes with mastery, with every little detail telling a story of its own. You'll be drawn to it like a moth to a flame as it grips hard and never lets go. Well, that's it for this year's list, but be sure to visit us at netflixandreels.com for more of your favourite movies and TV shows. Also, be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and remember to leave a comment in the comments section to let us know some of your favourite movies that didn't make the list.